Hi everyone, I'm Yo and this is Virginia. Welcome back to our YouTube channel, knowing, caring, and loving your lady parts. So today we have another video in this beautiful fall weather behind me. Don't you just love the leaves changing here in Canada here, about the H word. The 3 H's, happy, healthy hormones. Yep, those hormones that control us, men and women, but this one's particularly for women, and how it affects the lady parts and our overall function. So I'm gonna go over in this video how we can help to regulate hormones and what it does briefly on our body, because it really affects us, and how we can actually thrive with all the hormonal changes that happen in all the decades of our lives. So please stay tuned and let's get started. If you're new to the channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share with your friends, and please help us support the channel and turn on your notification bell so you get notified of when I release a video, which is now every Saturday, but it can change. And thank you so much for tuning in. Do you dread going through your monthly cycles and actually having to deal with peri-menopause, or oh my god, I got my period again, or hot flashes, or oh my god, why is my hair falling out after I had a baby? Dealing with your hormones does not have to be an uncomfortable phase or something that women actually dread to go through. What's really important, of course, is maintaining hormonal balance. So the happy, healthy hormones. And this applies to tweenies too, as you go through hormonal changes, and that starts in the early phases when you're going through, of course, puberty and you get your period, and then it transcends to when you're pregnant, and then perimenopause, the stage before menopause, and then of course menopause into your possibly 40s, 50s, and 60s. What do hormones actually do? Well, hormones are actually really fundamental and important for your overall pelvic, sexual, and overall health. What they do is actually it helps to control every bodily function, especially your organs and your cells. They're actually kind of like a messenger. They sort of whisper, okay, you know, not whisper, but they actually tell your body what to do. And it regulates your weight, it can regulate your sugar, of course your mood, hair loss. Has a really important function, not just on your reproductive health, but on your overall health. As I mentioned in lots of videos, everything is connected. I'm just gonna go over briefly hormones. There are a lot of other hormones that we have in our body, but I'm gonna deal with more of the 2 main hormones, which are the estrogen and the progesterone hormone. And you wanna make sure that those are balanced. And you know, the balance of the estrogen and progesterone will actually fluctuate through a woman's cycle, and especially through that, you know, that 28-day cycle in terms of menstruation. And it has a role to play with respect to making sure the uterus is ready for the egg implantation, of course. And if the egg doesn't implant, then you get your menstruation, your menses, and of course the estrogen and progesterone will fluctuate through that cycle. So here's my little rough graph to show you what happens in your cycle with respect to your hormone balance. The fluctuation in hormones, which is really important again when you have any pelvic floor issues, and just in terms of your mood, what's happening. So of course the progesterone hormone, this shows the levels, and then the purple one is the estrogen. What happens is when you're ovulating, so like about day, whatever, 14, okay, so the estrogen level actually rises and rises. So you can see that it's at a peak, right, when you ovulate, but then there's a little bit of a drop right afterwards, okay? And then what happens is that there's a huge drop, of course, when you get your period. So those are the times when you may find that you're having an increase of your pelvic floor symptoms, and also you're more moody, things like that. I know I am, or more irritable, okay? So that's to make note of the dips in the estrogen in terms of your hormonal balances. What you want to do though is establish a healthy balance between your estrogen and your progesterone, so you can minimize some of those perimenopausal symptoms or premenstrual cycles as much as you can. So how do you do that? As a woman who is going through the fun later decades of my life, where estrogen plays a huge role and I'm losing it, unfortunately, what I've found that really is important is, of course, maintaining your overall health. The healthier you are in general, the less you'll be affected by these swings in terms of your hormonal changes. And one of the big things that I've discovered is stress. Stress affects your life in so many ways. Well, it also really affects your hormones. Stress hormones are so bad, they steal away from your sex hormones that are actually contributing to positive reinforcements in your bodily functions, and they actually make things imbalanced. Management of stress is so important. Of course, and all those other videos, of course, my yoga videos in the link above, any of those videos, just breathing, managing your stress, however you manage it, is so important. The other thing is gut health, okay? And I can't emphasize that enough. Of course, I'm not a naturopath or a doctor, but keeping things healthy, keeping things moving, making sure you have regular bowel movements, and minimizing any digestive issues. Because in the digestive area, the liver plays a huge role in stabilizing some of the hormones. And if things aren't healthy in that area, it can actually create some imbalances in terms of your hormones. So making sure everything is healthy, and of course checking with your doctor in terms of your levels. Now, estrogen is the culprit for a lot of changes in women, I find, especially premenstrual, after pregnancy, your hair loss, things like that, and of course perimenopausal and menopausal. So what does estrogen do? What is its role? Well, it has a few roles. So estrogen is responsible for your sexual development, for when tweenies reach puberty and young teenagers. It also is responsible for breast development. It's also responsible for insulin regulation and food intake and metabolism. Estrogen also plays a huge role with respect to bone and cholesterol metabolism. So it has a lot of roles. The hormones are produced in the endocrine glands. I can't say that word for some reason, endocrine glands. And estrogen is produced primarily in the ovaries, and if there's any, of course, health issues with the ovaries, that can affect the estrogen levels. Hormones are so important. They regulate their sleep. They have a big role in your growth development and your reproductive development and system. And of course, as all of you know, hormones really regulate your mood, and your stress level is really affected by your hormones. So maintaining a hormonal balance is so crucial with respect to being less irritable and monitoring stress. With respect to PMS symptoms too, a lot of times you have an elevation of estrogen, and controlling this is really, really important. But apparently decreasing foods that are inflammatory, such as sugar and milk, and sugar is not good for you anyway, and also maintaining that gut health I mentioned. They say also eating sulfur-rich foods like cauliflower, broccoli, and also increasing your collagen really helps. So broth is supposed to be amazing for your diet. Again, consult your naturopath or doctor or dietitian or your homeopathic doctor for more information. So PMS symptoms could be an indication of an increased estrogen, and if you modulate that, and the liver is supposed to be a very important organ to regulate that, making sure your liver is functioning well, because that'll help balance your estrogen, would be ingesting things like amino acids, making sure they're balanced. Again, selenium, zinc, and methionine is another recommendation. And sadly, here's another tip that I've heard. Apparently, alcohol can really affect your estrogen. So consuming too much alcohol can actually elevate your estrogen, apparently, with respect to PMS symptoms. So you may want to keep that in mind, or just have fun with it. So what are the symptoms of decreased estrogen, which happens post-menopausal and also perimenopausal, and actually after a baby? If you are breastfeeding, you actually have a decreased estrogen. And that's really important with respect to pelvic health, or to be aware of that, because that can affect, of course, your symptoms, especially if you're having any pelvic health issues. You may find with the dip of estrogen that you'll have more of these symptoms. Well, of course, you should not have any pelvic floor issues, but if you have pelvic pain or incontinence, you may find that this decrease in estrogen will actually magnify your symptoms that you're having. So just an important note with respect to pelvic floor issues. Let's talk about, because this is the stage I'm going through, perimenopause and what happens. Well, you know, estrogen is responsible with respect to keeping things really elastic and your collagen production. So what happens during menopause is that you start losing your collagen. Everything starts to thin. I remember when I was younger and I used to make fun of my mom's or my grandma's hand and her skin, and I'd go, "Oh, you can pick up your hand like that. That's kind of disgusting." And guess what is happening to me? Okay, so everything starts to sag, unfortunately, and that unfortunately refers to your vagina. So what happens is your vagina, it starts to thin, it becomes less elastic, and that actually affects the lubrication, right? And then what happens is, unfortunately, then the supporting structures like your connective tissue and your ligaments, they also become a little bit looser too. So remember these muscles, the pelvic floor muscles, well, these become more relaxed, and then of course that makes you more prone to a prolapse, which is things that hang out, which you can look at my other videos up above or in the link below. Okay, so you want to make sure that you maintain a healthy hormonal balance to prevent these pelvic floor issues from happening, and better yet, get things working really well so you don't have any of these issues long before you hit these fun stages that I'm going through. And unfortunately, the decreased estrogen when it comes to perimenopause, yep, it can affect your sexual function because the vagina, and good old Virginia here is not quite going through that yet, but becomes drier. There's decreased elasticity and unfortunately decreased lubrication. And then because the walls get thinner, then you can have some friction and uncomfortableness possibly. Not everybody goes through this, but these are just changes that unfortunately can happen. Of course, during menopause too, you got that decreased estrogen, and that can cause the hair loss, and that happens unfortunately during pregnancy. I remember when I had my kids, all of a sudden I was pulling out clumps of hair, and I remember thinking, okay, that's only because I never wash my hair because I'm so busy with my newborn. But what happens is the decrease in the estrogen and progesterone, the imbalance can cause a hair loss, and that's what happens actually for men too. And not so much estrogen, progesterone, but testosterone. This happens for menopause too. You get that imbalance in hormones, and you start to lose your hair, like I am, unfortunately. We want to attack our hormonal changes and fluctuations through our life by being healthy. That's the big thing, right? And it's happy, healthy hormones, and it doesn't always have to be something that we dread. My clients who are in their 60s are full of wisdom, and all my clients are, no matter what age. It's wonderful. I love my job. I'm so lucky. And they often tell me that their 60s, they love their 60s because their hormones are balanced, right? They don't go through these up and down cycles now that we do when you have your period and your estrogen cycles and your progesterone, right? So they're now balanced. So there are things to look forward to. The big thing is maintaining your optimal health, okay? Remember, healthy gut, healthy lifestyle, working out, managing your stress, eating well, right? That'll all affect your hormones, and a lot of women go through it really, really easily. And if not, then see your family doctor, and there's a lot of remedies that are out there, natural, and also of course, hormonal supplements if you need it. And of course, if you're having major hormonal issues, talk to your family doctor, your family physician, of course, see a naturopath, see a homeopathic medicine doctor. There's a lot of natural remedies out there, and there's also, of course, very safe hormonal replacements or gels or creams that can be used that are very safe. I hope this helps with respect to staying hormonally happy, healthy, and balanced, and thriving in all your decades of womanhood. And this is tweens, teenagers, into pregnancy, that amazing time when hormones really fluctuate a lot. I hope this video helps you thrive with all your fluctuating decades of hormonal changes. And Virginia and I look so forward to seeing you again soon.